Welcome back to Power and Politics. It's all about the Royals today. Will and Kate are right now at Rideau Hall. They're at a barbecue with some very lucky people. Tomorrow will be Canada Day. They will be there. And our Power panel is weighing in on the impact of the Royals arriving right here in Canada. This is their first trip. It's a very historic trip. And at Rideau Hall is that great royal watcher himself that Peter Mansbridge was alluding to earlier, John Ivison of the National Post, looking pleased as punch to get that shout out from Peter. And then in Calgary, we've got Tom Flanagan, political scientist at the University of Calgary. And look at Tom, he is ready to party tomorrow. It's Canada Day, and Tom knows how to do it. He only has one beer, but it's a big one. And in Toronto, we've got former Liberal MP Martha Hall Finley, and in Winnipeg, former NDP MP Judy Washer-Leesa. Boy, this is a punchy panel already. We haven't even got started. Let me start with John Ivison. John, obviously Peter was giving a shout out that even the most hardened reporter was, and I'll use the word, besotted by the royal couple and how they've descended on there. You've watched them all day. Did it change your view of the monarchy?
Well, I think when he misinterpreted my tweets, I actually said I felt a flutter at one point, flutter of excitement, but it may have been indigestion. So
wasn't clear in your tweets, John.
So they did he read his prepared text very well. She looked beautiful, so I would say day one went pretty well, yeah.
John Ivison, that was not the kind of besotted emotion that I expected from you. Tom, here in Ottawa, obviously there's a lot of talk about it right now, but does it go across the country? In Alberta, for example, is this the story of the day?
Oh yeah, it is a big story everywhere, and of course, I didn't get invited, unlike John, but I'm going to have my own populist celebration here, as you can see. But can I say something serious, Evan? Is
yes.
it allowed? Yeah. A political system needs something transcendental. It can be a religion, as in the Islamic Republic of Iran. It can be an ideology, like the Soviet Union. It can be the nation, as in the United States or France, or it can be the family, the royal family. Now, of all of those options, frankly, I would rather be represented by a family rather than by an abstraction like a nation or a religion or an ideology.
Why is that? I mean, this is your political science hat is on. Why does a family, why is that more important than, say, an abstraction, a republic, where you don't need the representation, a monarchy, which some people find irrelevant? Why is that so important to you, Tom?
Because the family is concrete, and it's the most fundamental reality of human existence, marriage and reproduction. There's nothing more basic than that. And so to have that be the representation of your polity strikes very deep emotional chords in people. Even those who don't think of themselves as monarchists can hardly help being moved by the sight of something like this. So I think we're on to something here. I think we're lucky. We get this virtually for free, and I think we should be very, very happy to have it. And I think it's far better than any alternative representation of our polity.
Well, Judy, what do you make of that? I mean, not just the importance of the family, but Tom Flanagan using it to say marriage and reproduction. Is that really the symbol that we're talking about?
I'm not so sure I'd find such deep meaning in this attraction of Canadians to the royal visit. I'm going to be watching all of the goings-on on TV tomorrow. What else am I going to do? The filibuster's over. It's going to fill an important gap. But no, more seriously, there's an attraction there, but I don't think it is anything so deep-rooted as a symbol of marriage and family and reproduction and childbirth. It's much more about a wonderful tradition in Canada that takes people's minds off some of the worst situations that Canada's facing right now, like the floods in Manitoba. It's a distraction, it's fantasy land, and it's fun.
But is that it? I mean, does it? Tom's argument is that it's more than that, Martha Hall Finley, that it plays a legitimate role in the life of a nation. It's a stabilizing force and a unifying force.
Well, I hope the reproduction thing is probably putting on a bit of pressure on the lovely young couple. But when Tom used the example of the United States and the nation as being the unifying force there, I don't know why Canada can't be the unifying force here. Some of my best friends are monarchists, okay? And I think it's lovely that everybody's really excited, and they're obviously a lovely young couple, and people are all excited about them. But they are also celebrities in the way that Hollywood celebrities are celebrities. I would prefer that if there was some real unifying thing for Canada, that it was in fact what a fantastic country we have. And so for all of the examples that Tom used, I don't think the idea of the nation of the United States is something that we should think of as a negative. I would rather, if there was going to be that one unifying thing for Canadians, that it would be the country
Martha
that we have
Huffman,
instead of this lovely young couple.
Why is it so difficult? I mean, when you talk about this, and you're sort of now very articulate about being a Republican, that we don't need the monarchy. Why is that something politicians don't want to discuss?
Well, I don't know that we don't need the monarchy, and that's where this whole thing becomes very interesting, and I think Tom did hit on a very important point. I mean, people love this. People are across the country, they're watching it, they are a lovely young couple for sure. And there is something about the tradition that people get excited about. I don't take away from that. I think that's wonderful. And as somebody just said to me before coming on air, isn't it nice that we aren't all talking about horrible news right now? That this is a feel-good story, and that we need that from time to time. But I do think that we have to look at the very serious question of what is Canada as a country? What does the monarchy represent in terms of our true independence on the international stage? What does that mean in terms of our self-identity? Those are other bigger questions that I think go beyond this lovely young couple.
But
Not to take away from
John
them,
Ivison, pick up on that. I mean, Peter Mansbridge saying that the very brand, the relevance of the monarchy may rest on the shoulders of this couple because they're gambling on these people to revivify that feeling that Tom's talking about away from a kind of republicanism.
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, I talked to people here at Rideau Hall today, and when you mention Charles, there's a big nah. You know, that is not the future of the monarchy. And we saw a poll earlier this week which suggested most Canadians would prefer it went straight from Queen Elizabeth to the Duke of Cambridge. So, you know, I mean, when we talk about do we need to change it, republicanism, I mean, we can't even get rid of the Senate or reform the Senate. We're never going to get anywhere close to removing the head of state. So let's get real. It used to bother me when I lived in Britain. It used to bother me. It was the apex of a pyramid, where the class system they were the top of the class system. And I used to think if you get rid of them, then you get rid of the class system. Age and experience have taught me that is not the case. You lop off the apex of a pyramid, the pyramid does not collapse. So, you know, let's live with it, treat it for what it is, which is essentially the ultimate reality show, and you know, enjoy the moment.
All right, let me pick up after this. I'll pick up on this discussion. Do we need the monarchy? Have Will and Kate really re-energized the notion of the monarchy? And are they anything more than, just as John Ivison just described it, a reality show? Are they, as Tom Flanagan might argue, essential for a stable democracy? We'll pick that up when the Power Panel returns after a short break. Stay with us.
Institutions, you know, the House of Commons, the Senate, the courts, the cabinet, the prime minister. Every one of these is under severe criticism most of the time from some important segment of the country, or, you know, let alone federalism. The one institution which everybody seems satisfied with is the monarchy and its representatives, the Governor General. This hasn't been seriously contested since the King Byng affair in 1926.
Although in Quebec, Tom, be fair, in Quebec this is not a done deal. They poll very differently in Quebec, and that's significant.
Yeah, well, you know, what can I do about Quebec? I grant that, but leaving that aside, the monarchy and its representatives are the least contested part of the whole Canadian political system. It's the one thing that works without significant criticism most of the time. So why would we want to mess with it? It's hard enough to change anything else. In fact, it's almost impossible to change anything else. So why don't we leave the one thing that works well, leave it alone, and just enjoy it and honor it?
Well,
Judy?
Well, I don't think the monarchy, by any means of expression, could be seen as central or essential to democracy. It is, I would agree with Tom, an important part of our traditions and our history, and that's why we enjoy it so much, and I think that's where we should leave it. Nothing wrong with the debate. The debate about monarchists versus Republicans will continue for many years to come, but I think really what we've got here is a long-standing tradition of symbolism in this country that is important, and it causes people to enjoy these kinds of trips to Canada. It causes great excitement, and let's look at it in terms of dollars and cents. It may cost some money to have the royals come to Canada, but having the whole world look at Canada because Kate and Will are here is an important for our economy and important for attracting visitors to this place.
Well, you talk about the money, John Iveson. We're hearing it costs about $1.5 million for this tour. Do you buy that?
Well, I was just saying, I don't think that sounds right for, I mean, it seems to me that the police budget in Ottawa alone would be somewhere around there. But Judy makes a good point. I mean, that's fair enough. Just as the royal couple turned and waved and walked in, I got a phone call there from my mother in Scotland who was watching it live on the BBC. I mean, this is wall-to-wall coverage. In Britain, I was standing next to an Australian television crew. I mean, people around the world are watching this. So we are probably getting some good ad dollars out of this. You know, it's not a zero-sum game when you spend the 1.5 million, I suppose.
No, listen, we're going to celebrate 144 years of Canada tomorrow, but we will be joined by the world because of the attendance of Will and Kate, Martha Hall Finley. Absolutely.
And it is lovely, and it's worth celebrating, and I'm sure everybody will have a wonderful time. I will take a little bit of exception to what Tom said earlier, though, in the sense that when we do know that it's a problem in Quebec, it's a problem for Francophones across the country who do not share that same British heritage. But I would also say that the British monarchy represents now fewer and fewer Canadians. There are far more people who are in Canada now who do not share that British heritage. And yes, our political system has that, our history has that, and it's all extremely important from a tradition and a governance perspective. Don't take away from that. But I do think it is important to recognize that for an increasing number of Canadians, there is less and less of that tie. And so when John Iveson says, well, when people mention Prince Charles and it's sort of the bigger question for me then becomes, well, but is it a question of celebrity and personality taking away from what really is the monarchy for us? At the end of the day, as everybody has acknowledged, we're not going to change it. It's not going to change anytime soon. And so it will be really fun to watch. And I think people are enjoying it. And that's a wonderful thing for people to do.
Let me ask you, all right, John, you're our print man. Good cover?
I'll just say something nice about the royal family. How about that to end with? I think she would have been very proud to see her son there, who looks a strapping big lad, going a bit thin on top, but he looks like he's a decent guy.
He could be on your
he
rugby
survived
team.
what he could have been on, but I had a very bad view for a man who's got that little hair, because I was looking down on him, and it's not looking promising. But I would say that he survived some very traumatic times, and he does look like he's emerged the other side, and I think his mother will be proud of him.
Yeah.
Some nice words from John Iveson of the National Post. Tom Flanagan as well, who's clearly fueled up and ready to go for Canada Day, celebrating like the common fella that he is. Martha Hall Finley and Judy Wassilisha-Lees. Guys, enjoy your Canada Day. I wish you all the very, very best.
Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada
Bye-bye.
Day.
I just want to see the size of the refrigerator Tom uses.